This one's probably gonna upset some people, but it needs to be discussed. Let's talk about the problems with French Bulldogs. I know, guys, they're really cute, they're super funny, but they are medical disasters. Let's start by comparing the skull of a normal dog to the skull of a French Bulldog. You can immediately see how things are all squished together. The first thing that this is gonna mess up is their teeth. All of these dogs still have to fit 42 teeth into that mouth. Now these teeth come in sideways. This predisposes them to dental disease. All of the structures that make up their nose and throat are gonna be squished into a much smaller area. This makes French Bulldogs the poster child for brachycephalic obstructive airway syndrome. It's a lifelong, debilitating primary airway obstructive disorder that really negatively impacts the quality of life of affected dogs. Characterized by stenotic nares, aka narrow nostril, an elongated soft palate, everted laryngeal saccules, and a hypoplastic trachea. Ultimately, it's just harder for them to breathe. These dogs are prone to respiratory distress and heat stroke. This misshapen and deformed skull also predisposes French Bulldogs to ocular problems. Because of their shallow orbital pockets and eyeballs that naturally protrude, they are at risk for syndromes like cherry eye, corneal ulcers, entropion, keratoconjunctivitis sicca or dry eye, and blinding keratic pigmentation. They are also genetically prone to developing cataracts. The French Bulldog's skull is not the only part of their skeleton that has been negatively affected by all of the inbreeding and lack of genetic diversity. French Bulldogs are also likely to have spinal deformations called hemivertebrae. These deformed vertebrae predispose French Bulldogs to spinal cord damage and injury, instability, and disability. And now French Bulldogs are actually passing dachshunds as the most likely breed to suffer from intervertebral disc disease. IVDD is a condition where the contents of the discs between the vertebrae rupture into the spinal cord, causing a loss of function of the rear legs as well as incontinence, both urinary and fecal. Another spinal condition that the French Bulldogs are genetically predisposed to is degenerative myelopathy. This is similar to ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease in people. Degenerative myelopathy causes gradual muscle wasting and incoordination of the hind limbs, resulting in a failure to walk after 6 to 12 months. French Bulldogs are also overrepresented in atopic dermatitis. This means that they have extremely sensitive skin and are highly prone to allergies. These allergies can never be cured. Instead, they must be managed with expensive medication and topical therapies. If their allergies are not managed appropriately, these guys will develop chronic, painful skin and ear infections. Very poor quality of life. It doesn't end with just their skin. French Bulldogs are also predisposed to IBD, inflammatory bowel disease. This can lead to frequent bouts of diarrhea. These dogs often have to eat expensive prescription diets, along with taking lifelong medications. French Bulldogs don't just start struggling in adults. They have to fight for life from the very beginning. French Bulldogs actually require C-sections for birth. That's right, they are unable to give birth naturally. The puppy's skulls are too big to fit through the pelvic canal of the dam. A C-section is not a small procedure. Any woman who's had a C-section can tell you it is painful. Recovery is tough and long. French Bulldog puppies are actually the most common puppies to be born with congenital conditions. Cleft palates, heart defects, umbilical hernias. Some of these babies don't even survive. If you already own and love a French Bulldog, I am not telling you to get rid of your dog, but I would encourage you to have pet insurance. And if your heart is truly set on a French Bulldog, please consider rescuing one. Many of these babies find themselves in shelters and rescue organizations after being dumped because of their medical conditions. Please do your research before you buy a French Bulldog. In order to get people to stop breeding these dogs, we have to stop demanding them. If you learned something, share this video and help me raise awareness.